All right, today I want to talk to you about composite keys. Also, sometimes keys are called indexes, and sometimes we don't talk about composite keys, we talk about compound keys. And we're going to talk about how to do that in Microsoft Access. This is for CIT 170. I'm an adjunct instructor. My name's Charles William. I go by Bill Marshall. And there's a website that you can go to if you want to look up other things about the course. The steps that we're going to go through is we're going to design an entity relation diagram using SQLDB.com. And then in Microsoft Access, we're going to build tables that contain the primary key, the primary data. And then we're going to build tables that relate to that data so that you find your most simple tables that don't have any lookups in them. And you build them and then build the things that look up to those primary tables. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is use SQLDB.com to build an ERD for the database that we're going to talk about. And we don't want to pay them, so we're going to wait for it to time down. All right, so I want to build a new table, so I come up here and pull it down. And I'm going to call this teacher. And it's going to have teacher ID. And an auto-generated, in this world, is called serial. And we're going to have teacher LName. And that's going to be a varchar 45. If I could type, it would work really much better. And varchar. And then we're going to have teacher name. And you'll see why we're doing that when you get to Access. All right, so that's all of that one. And now we're going to go to create a table called course. And it's going to be fairly straightforward. And that's serial. And then we go down here below the line because we're now into the data fields. And that's varchar 45. And that's what we need for that one. And now we need a table called roll. And it's fairly straightforward too. And now in the data, All right, so now we've got those three primary tables that we're going to bake on, and now we're going to make and so each of these have a single primary key, and now we're going to build our last table, which is called Course Teacher. And now we're going to use the reference, and we're going to use identifying link, and we're going to go from here to there, and from so we're going to come up here, we're going to say it's an identifying, all right, so the very first thing we want to do, or we should have done, is to tell what kind of notation we want. And we want crow's foot. And, all right, so I'm happy with this. We have three tables. We have a compound key. And we can tell it's a key because it's above the line. And we have this data field. Now you could add lots more fields, but the concept I'm trying to show you is what it looks like to have this type of compound key and then how we're going to put it in Microsoft Access. Today I'm going to demonstrate the use of calculated fields for text and composite keys. So let's call this Demo 1 and create a database. And then we're going to go to the design view, and we're going to have a teacher table. And we're going to have teacher ID. And then we're going to have teacher L name. And teacher F name, and then we're going to have teacher name. But it's going to be calculated. And we're going to look at teacher. Okay, so this shows a problem. You can't do this until you've saved the table. So let's go back. Let's make this, let's just delete this row. And let's save. Now let's have teacher name. And again, we want to have it be calculated. And so now we have I want their teacher name to be last name, comma, first name. So I'm going to click this, And then I'm going to say a plus sign, and I'm going to say double quote, comma, space, double quote, plus sign, and then I'm going to have their F name, teacher F name, and I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to save. All right, now I need a new table. And we're going to call this table roll. And we're going to have the primary key be roll ID, and then roll name. And we're going to save that. And now we're going to create another table, and we're going to call it course. And it's going to be course ID. And course name. Now, if I wanted to have, if each course had one and only one instructor or teacher, I could simply add a lookup field and put teacher, and so that would let me have one blank to put a teacher. So each course could have one and only one teacher. And that may be, depending on your business rules, that may be what you want. But it's not what I want. So I'm going to save that and make another one. And I'm going to create another table. And go to the design view. And this is going to be we're going to call it course teacher. And I don't care what this first one's called because it's going to go away anyway. But the next thing I'm going to do is have a lookup wizard. And I'm going to look up a field to get the values. And I'm going to look up the course. I'm going to look up the teacher. And I could have looked up from a query, or I can look up from a table, but I want a table. And I want to pull in their ID field, so I'll pull that across. And I want to bring in their teacher name, which is last name, first name in one field. So I do that and say next. And how do I want to sort it? I want to sort it in teacher name order. And do I want to hide the teacher ID field, hide the key field? And I do, so I'm going to say next. And teacher name is what I want. Now, enable data integrity. If I had a record that referred back to a teacher and I didn't click this, somebody could go into the teacher table and delete it. And then all the records in teacher name that referred to that teacher would be what we call an orphan, in that they couldn't look up what they needed. It wouldn't be possible for them to look it up. So you always want to enable data integrity and restrict delete. All right, and then it gives you this, and you say yes. And okay, this is an example. It can't do it because I have these other three. So I'm going to say okay. I'm going to delete the teacher table. not delete it, but close it, delete the role, and delete the court, so that now the only thing I have open is teacher table. And I come in again and I say that I want to do a lookup, and I want to look it up from a table, and I want to look it up from teacher, and I want to bring over the teacher ID and the teacher name. The reason we wanted to concatenate those together is because the way this works, it's going to put one field into a column of the table we're building, and we use that concatenate or that calculated field to do that. So now we say that we're going to sort on teacher name, and next, and finish. All right. And now I want to do another lookup, because this is going to end up having a compound key. And it's going to be teacher name and course ID. So we do another lookup wizard. What didn't work right about that? All right, and I do want to look it up from a table. And this time I'm looking it up from course. And I want them both, so I can click this. And next. And I want to sort it on course name. And I want to hide the key column. And I forgot to do this on the last one, but I hope that you will believe that you ought to do it every time. And then finish. Okay. Now, the point of this is we want these two to be the primary key. So if we hold down our control key, save the thing, Control S, so we save it, and now we can do Control and Control. I need to get them both highlighted at once. All right, so I held it and drugged is what I did. So now I'm going to right-click the mouse and say that I want that to be the primary key. But I only had one of them end up being primary key, so we're still not there. All right, so notice now that the ID isn't a primary key anymore. So I can come up here and delete that row. And now I'm ready for my lookup with what role does this person have in the when this instructor is teaching this class, what is their role? And yes, I want it to be and I want to get it from the roll table. And I want them both. And I want to sort it based on the role name. And yes, I want to hide the role ID. And I want to enable data integrity. And I want to finish. All right, so now we save this. All right, so now let's go look at, start using this. If we first load the teacher, and so the last name is Smith, and the first is Tom, And the next teacher's name is Jones. And their first name is Bob. And notice how we are creating the teacher's name. And why is that shortened? If we drag that back, we can see it even longer names. And so we want to save that data. And now we want to go to the course, and the first course name is CIT 170. That'd be good if I could type. CIT 170. I'm in the wrong thing. I'm in course teacher, and I'm not ready for that yet. All right. Let's get that over just a little bit more, so I can see that that was course teacher. I want to be in course. And so the course name is CIT 170. And the next one is CIT 253. And so those are done, and we'll do a Control S to save those. And now I need role. And the first role name is lead. And the next one is all right. So we'll save those. And now we're ready to go to the course teacher. So we pick which teacher we're talking about. We're talking about Bob Jones, and he's teaching CIT 170, and he is the lead in that class. And here's where we get the power. We can also say that Tom Smith is teaching CIT 170, and that his role is proctor. And this allows you to have 1 or 1,000,000 teachers in each course. Okay, this probably may have raised questions. I hope it's enough here for you to step through and try it on your own. If you have any questions, please contact me.